Now the brachioradialis here, it's going to originate on something called the lateral supracondylar ridge of the humerus, and it's going to insert all the way down here at the styloid process of the radius. And what it's going to be responsible for is flexion of the forearm, and it's going to be innervated by a nerve called the radial nerve. But if you see a muscle on the lateral side of the arm that has a part up here in the brachial region and crosses the elbow and goes down to the carpal region, you probably know what it is. It's brachioradialis, so keep that in mind as a landmark. Now, working on the posterior brachial region, this is where we're going to find the triceps brachii muscle. So there's three heads. There's a lateral head, a long head, and the medial head. So as we take a look here, the lateral head is going to be this one on the outside, and it's going to originate on the posterior surface of the humerus, but specifically above the radial groove. So if you recall that radial groove being about right here, and the lateral head is just going to originate above it. The long head is going to be medial here, and it's going to originate on the infraglenoid tubercle of the scapula. So keep that in mind also, as since it crosses the shoulder joint and the elbow, it's going to have two actions compared to the other two heads don't cross the shoulder joint, so they're only going to have one action. Our last head is the medial head, which is actually deep to both these heads. So we can't see it right now. We'll see it on the next picture. But the medial head is going to originate on the posterior surface of the humerus, but this time below the radial groove. Now, all three of these heads are going to insert to the same place, the olecranon process of the ulna, so the tip of the elbow, and that's what you see going on right there. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to extend the forearm, so straightening the forearm out. But the long head has an extra action, so it still does the extension of the forearm, but it also extends the humerus. The nerve that's going to innervate all three of these heads is going to be the radial nerve. Now looking at this picture here is where we can now see that medial head. So you see it right here, and it'll be on the other side as well, just underneath the lateral head. It's deep compared to the other ones. Now working on the antebrachium muscles, these are going to be the superficial flexors of the antebrachium. So they're going to cause flexion of the antebrachium, the carpal region specifically. How this is going to work is there's a little saying that goes along with these. It's called the pass-fail system. So P for pass, F is for fail, and we're all going to pass the course, right? Nobody's going to fail. Pass, fail. And so it just goes along with each one of these muscles. So the first pass would be the pronator teres. The first fail would be the flexor carpi radialis. Our next pass would be palmaris longus. And then the last fail would be the flexor carpi ulnaris, which would be the more medial. So keep that in mind as we go through there. So where we're going to find these muscles are going to be right here in the antebrachium. So our first one, if we do that first pass, is pronator teres right here. So this muscle right there. And pronator teres, it's going to originate on the medial epicondyle of the humerus, so that bump on the inside of the elbow here. And where it's going to insert is it's going to come all the way across, and it's going to insert onto the shaft of the radius. And if we follow those fibers, if this got smaller, you can imagine what it's going to do is it's going to pronate the arm, but it's also going to be involved in flexion of the forearm as well. The nerve that's going to innervate pronator teres is going to be the median nerve. For our next muscles, you only have to know the actions of these down here. And so if we want pass, we'll go ahead and write that in. So our first P. Our second one is going to be the first fail, which is going to be the flexor carpi radialis. And the flexor carpi radialis, what it's going to do is it's going to flex the hand. And so this is going to be the more lateral one of these four, this group of four, because here's our brachioradialis. Remember, we just went over that. So this one's going to go down to the radial side. Next one is our next P for palmaris longus. And palmaris longus, what it does is it also flexes the hand, but this muscle may or may not be on the cadaver. It's a muscle that is on some people and some people don't have it.